no matter what you do, you just feel like your career is just stuck. Now, what gives? Well, as usual, there can be so many reasons, but if that is something that you're struggling with, naturally, my first inclination would be to look at your 10th house. Your 10th house, your 11th house, and even your 12th house, but not necessarily, mostly the 10th and the 11th house, specifically the 10th. So the 10th is associated with your career, the type of contribution that we have, but we have to understand that the chart is a storyline. No line, no house works individually by itself. It's like you start here, it is a story, right? There's a certain continuity. That's why we could even start looking in your ninth house, because the ninth house would be, can also start the story there. It's often about any travel, any fate, any higher calling, higher, it's often associated with not quite 12 house mystery and the unseen, but mostly, to give you an example, Sagittarius is the ninth sign, right, of the zodiac, and it's often associated with seeking purpose, seeking truth, seeking a sense of like a bit more like the truth in life. So this is why when we're looking at your chart, often there's going to be a story there starting all the way from the ninth house, going all the way to the 11th house, right? But this is where I'd be looking at. And I know I mentioned this. I made a recent episode on that recently, and we talked about Saturn, because Saturn is going to be a very important key factor. I'm just looking at my I'm just looking at my neighbors just acting crazy. Anyhow, so Saturn is really going to be a key factor because we get no, not we for once, because I actually like Saturn a lot, but generally speaking, as a community, we tend to be scared of Saturn, right? But we need to understand the reason is because Saturn is often comes with friction, comes with slowing things down. We could see it as a bit as a policing us, making sure that we're not acting from an erratic way or out of fear. It really slows things down. But that is very slowing things down is a requirement in order for things to take roots. So often, like, there's so many examples I could give, right? But if this is something you are struggling with, definitely come and see me. All my links are down below for a private session with me. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I can see 10 clients with the same issue, and the story could be, the birth chart can tell me 10 different stories. So we have to understand that this is really, really personalized for you. We're not just looking at Saturn, we're also looking at what other aspects are being created in the chart, right? As in, maybe you don't even have Saturn anywhere near your 10th house, but maybe Saturn is squaring something else that's in your 10th house. You know what I mean? So the chart is a bit of a, it's very nosy. The chart will tell us so many things, and there's so much juice in the chart. That's why I want you to understand. But if you feel there's stagnation, if you feel like your progress has been blocked or dramatically slowed down, or you feel like you don't know, you feel lost, don't despair, because this is often the feeling that happens before a huge breakthrough. We have to understand, even in Kabbalah, we talk about that a lot in spirituality, which tells you that before there is expansion, there is going to be a moment of contraction. Think about when you're trying to jump, or even when you're looking at the cat. I don't know if you have a cat at home, but I had, back in Montreal, I had two cats. They would fight all the time. But I would observe them. They're quite fascinating, right? And and whenever the cat would jump, because cats are known for their crazy capacity, how they can jump to beautiful heights. Whenever it would jump, there would also be that motion where the cat would have to retract and then gain momentum and then start jumping. You'll never see that. The cat just jumps from total immobility, and then total, their body is just still, and then it jumps. It doesn't really work like that. Unless they're startled, that's something else, right? But It doesn't work like that usually. So you can see it as a sort of, remember those mattress, the springboard, right? It's a spring. It needs to coil and retract before it can fully expand, right? So in a way, this is exactly how the your achievements in life work. Sometimes it's not we like to think about it in terms of a linear, perfect line, linear upward motion, progress, 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 progress. That beautiful draft, you know? But it doesn't, in real life, doesn't really often work like that. Often, even in statistic, you could see when they show you those beautiful graph, when you really zoom into the graph and see the reality of the moment to moment, it's often, it goes up, it goes down. But then it goes a bit higher, then it goes down. And then it goes a bit higher, it goes down. So our life works in a similar way. There's expansion, but before every expansion there is a moment of contraction. There's a moment where the life is concealed and then the light is revealed. So, and also we need to understand the reason why this happens is that there tends to be a certain delayed mastery when it comes to Saturn, or when it comes to just the 10th house or your MC line. It's just, that's just a representation of life. So I wanted to share this out there, but if that's something, because I know that's something that is very common, and if that is something that you feel like you're dealing with, again, you don't have to do this alone. Come and see me, and we will take a close look at your chart. There's nothing I love doing more than than diving into this, putting my I grew up watching Inspector Gadget. I don't know what's the English name. It was a French show back then when I watched it, but it was one of my absolutely favorite show. And also Columbo. Remember Columbo? Anyone knows Columbo? It was just this crazy, beautiful detective that would go out there and look so unassuming, but then he would solve every single case one by one. And so in a way, when I have a client, this is how I see the birth chart. It's like, ooh, I get to put on my glasses, my detective glasses, and my detective hat, and that huge loop thingy. I don't know how you call it. Like that magnifying glass, and then we get to uncover some diamonds. Anyhow, I'll just stop right here. And thank you so much for checking in, my love. And in the meantime, keep shining bright like a diamond, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.